You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing the final season, episode 11, which was called Goodbye.
Oh my god.
We're going to do our summary, spoiler-free discussion, and spoiler discussion like we always do. Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. And today, this episode covered the end of chapters 128, 129, 130, and part of the first part of 131 from the manga. And we covered all of that in our episode 63, which is called I Can Start Down My Own Path. So there was still some stuff in that episode that hasn't been covered yet. Probably will be next week. So maybe after next week, you'll be able to go back and listen to it. But yeah, for the most part, that was all in one. And I'm surprised they squeezed a lot of all this content. Every time they put like 4 chapters in, I'm always really impressed. They did it again. Mm-hmm. They've done it again, guys. How do they do it? I don't know. This episode opens as Tohru leaves the hospital. She sees Zuo and Hana who have come to pick her up, and Kyo, and then she takes off. Just like we saw last week. Her legs carry her away on their own. This isn't right. It's not what I planned, she thinks. I was supposed to smile. Kyo catches up to her at a street lamp. Tohru is always able to get out before she runs away again. He got dumped, huh? He got dumped. A woman, a child, and a cat passing by, I think. You're crushing me here, Kyo says, but takes off again, determined. Tohru keeps running and thinking, this is no good at all. She remembers speaking to Kyo after she fell. She remembers Yuki visiting her in the hospital. He asks how she's doing and tries to talk to her about Kyo. Tohru suddenly cries and changes the subject. My chest hurts, she thinks, and she remembers Kyo telling her, I'm disappointed in you. Just hearing his name is a knife to my chest. I'm no good like this. I have to get over it, and not just dwell on it forever, or I'll cause trouble to everyone, even Kyo. That's not acceptable. Smile. Smile. In the present, Tohru slows down and sits on a low wall. She decides to smile the next time she saw Kyo, but it was a wasted effort. She decided it'd be okay if she wasn't by his side, but... Kyo approaches. She sees him. I want to be by his side, she thinks. Not being able to makes me sad. She cries. Please wait, she struggles to say. I'll be ready in a sec. But the tears don't stop. She doesn't want Kyo to be even more disappointed in her. Kyo approaches her and takes her hand. He kneels. I was completely selfish, wasn't I? He says. I just confessed my own sins, said everything I wanted to say, and ignored your feelings. And then I ran, even though I know that sometimes in this world you never get the chance to see someone again to apologize. I thought that I knew, but if I'm just going to repeat history, it's no better than not knowing. I'm sorry I made you cry. I'm sorry I hurt you so much. This is the last time. I don't need another one after this. Will you give me one last chance? I want to be with you. If I'm going to keep living, I want to do it with you. He looks up at Tohru seriously. You're the only one I want, because I love you. Does that mean you'll let me stay by your side? Tohru says. I can hold your hand and be with you? He smiles sheepishly. You're already holding it, he says. Tohru starts to cry, happy tears this time. Even if it's been said dozens, hundreds, or thousands of times, even if the words are a worn-out cliché, this really is like a dream. Kyo brushes her tears away and kisses her. Just so you know, that was her second kiss, he says after a moment. Tohru panic blushes and asks how, when, how, what, etc., since she was knocked out and all. Remember on your own, okay? Or else I'll be lonely, you know? He stands and pulls her to her feet. He smiles reassuringly, and then frowns. Can I hug you? I know I'll stop being human, and that being together, sometimes you'll suffer because of my weird body. Kyo-kun, don't you know? Tohru says. I love you, Kyo-kun. This love is totally invincible. Oh, in that case, maybe I'm invincible too, he says. There's nothing to be afraid of now, huh? Not if you're here. He pulls her into a hug. He doesn't transform. I know! Goodbye, Akito thinks. We flash back to earlier. Akito visits Tohru in the hospital. She says she was jealous of Tohru, of her purity. Tohru tells her that she isn't, and tells her not to put people into categories like that. When you sobbed that you were lonely and sad, Tohru says, you were so innocent and pure. It was heartbreaking. I'm the person trying to destroy the world that you want, whether it's right or wrong. It doesn't change the fact that I'm hurting you a lot. But I'd still like to keep being your friend, Akito-san. Akito remembers Tohru asking her to be her friend at the cliff. You're so persistent, Tohru says. Wait, you're so persistent, she says. Tohru smiles. Fuck. Maybe we should just start over. I mean...
all the way at episode 1.
Yeah. I need to warm up, obviously, so... At the main house in the present, Akito falls to her knees. There'll be time enough later to believe in new meanings and new beginnings, right? She wonders. And God touches her head. We transition to a story. Tohru narrates. Once upon a time, a certain person lived on a mountain. And we see that person, a being with long flowing white hair, staying secluded on a high mountaintop. Tohru narrates. They had been alone for a long, long time. They knew that many people lived at the foot of the mountain, but they were all alone. They knew that their vast power, long life, and vast memory made them different from other people, and they were afraid of people. They were afraid of being hurt. They were afraid of themselves for having such great power yet being so different from the crowd. Then, one day, a cat came to visit. They were bewildered at the sudden visitor, but the cat bowed its head respectfully and said, "I've been observing you for some time. You're a deeply mysterious person, and I cannot help feeling drawn to you. I'm a mere stray cat, but I pray you will let me stay by your side. Please, O God." The cat was faithful to its words, and never left the person's side, not even for a moment. This made God very happy. So God had an idea. Perhaps those who are different from humans would be willing to be my friends. Perhaps I could hold an enjoyable banquet with those who understand my feelings. God wrote many invitations and sent them all, and in response, 12 creatures came to see God. God and the 13 animals had a banquet every moonlit night. They sang and danced. God laughed aloud for the first time. The moon quietly watched over these banquets shared by those who were different. But one night, the cat collapsed. Its life was running out, and there was nothing to be done. They all cried, and they all knew that everyone would eventually die, and the banquets would end, no matter how fun or how dazzlingly precious they were. God chanted a spell and traced a circle around a sake cup. They fed the dying cat a sip as they said to the others, "Here and now I shall make the bonds between us eternal. Even if we die, we shall remain connected through eternal bonds. No matter how many times we die and are reborn, we'll hold banquets like this. We shall stay unchanging for eternity, friends forever." Everyone nodded firmly. Then the rat sipped first from the oath cup, followed by the ox, the tiger, the rabbit, and the rest in order. As the final animal, the boar, finished drinking, the cat feebly wept. "God, oh God, why did you make me drink that? I don't need or want eternity." Those words were shocking. God and the other animals interpreted them as a rejection, and they all grew sad. They rebuked and admonished the cat. Still, the cat said, "God, oh God, let us accept that things end, even when that scares us. Let us accept mortality, even when it makes us lonely. God, I was fortunate to be with you, for even a moment. If we're able to meet again after our deaths and rebirths, then I want to meet a you who smiles not only in the moonlight, but in the light of the sun too. Next time, I want to meet a you who laughs not only with us, but among humans too." With a final flick of its tail, the cat fell and died, but no one paid the cat any mind now. They were all too preoccupied with the feeling that the cat had betrayed them. After a while, the other animals began to die one by one, and when the dragon died, God was alone once more. We see God, alone in the house at the top of the mountain. The house is now broken down. The remnants of banquets past, broken mats, plates, and cups now litter the floor. Snow falls through the open roof and piles in the corners of the house, and God looks out the windows longingly. And then, the narration continues, at long last, God's death came as well. But God wasn't afraid, because the promise they'd all made gave God strength. "I'll hold another banquet. I'll hold banquet after banquet, forever, unchanging. I may be lonely right now, but everyone is waiting for me on the other side of that promise." That was in the long-distant past, the original memory, forgotten by everyone, the original promise.
The cat was wronged.
Yeah. The cat was tricked. The cat was forced to do something that it shouldn't have been forced to do. And then everyone was mad, even though the cat was right. Not that we have feelings about it or whatever. In the present, Akito falls to the floor of the main estate. "It's all right now, isn't it, Father?" she wonders. "It's okay for me to stop being special or God and just become me, right? For me to start my life. I'm hurt and scared. I don't really have any good points, but goodbye." At Ayame's shop, he suddenly calls for Mine. She tells him that lunch will be ready soon and asks if he'd like more tea. He stands and hugs her from behind. "Mine," he says, "I was born to love you. I can finally say that." Mine cries and turns around to hug him. Also, Arisu suddenly drops a plate. His mother comes in and asks what's wrong. He cries. Kisa, playing with Hiro and Hinata, suddenly drops the Mogeta toy they were playing with and cries. Kagura, out shopping, stops dead still and cries. At Shisho's, Rin suddenly starts to cry, and she holds Haru's cheek. "It's lonelier than you think, huh?" he says, and they hold each other. Hattori, looking out of his office into the garden at home, suddenly starts to cry. Shigure makes his way through the main estate, and like the others, he too stops suddenly. "Huh, so this is what it feels like," he thinks. Goodbye, everyone, Akito narrates. Goodbyes make us lonely, very lonely. They say that partings begin new meetings, and beginnings happen because of endings. Cliches like that, I don't want to hear them right now. Please, cry with me. If there's nothing we can do about this, then for now I want you to cry with me. A full body wail, venting our feelings. We lost what we had and there are no guarantees. Cry for the terror of living in this world again. Clinging to a tiny speck of hope, I want you to at least cry and cry and cry with me, like we cried when we were first born into this world. Goodbye. 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 Kyo, still with Tohru, is turned away. He reaches down to the bracelet on his wrist and pulls it apart. The beads fall in slow motion. Tohru cries and Kyo looks up at the bright sky. Goodbye, we hear the ethereal voice of God say, then cut to credits. And then after the credits, Kyo and Tohru go to visit Shisho, and he pulls Kyo into a big hug. Tohru notices Haru, who gives her a thumbs up in Rin2. She grabs Kyo's shirt sleeve and asks him something, and Tohru comes to pick them up and takes them to the main house. When did they become a curse? When did they become a burden? God says. Those were happy days. We didn't want to part. Surely there was love there, and yet, time passed, people changed, and they became simply a source of suffering. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But even after the original promise wore thin and lost its original shape, you all carried it with you. So what I want to tell you most is thank you. Thank you. That was in the long-distant past, the original memory, forgotten by everyone. At the main house, Kyo and Tohru stand outside Akito's room. Akito reaches out and tugs Tohru in by her shirt. It would be a long, long time, God says, before the cat's words finally came true. Inside Akito's room, she hugs Tohru, and we part on an image of God scratching the cat's chin. And not crying. The end.
Yeah, it's like, is that what the final image was? I couldn't see it through my tears.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When I was writing my notes, I sent Kayla a screenshot of the part that says, please cry with me. And I was like, you don't have to ask. It's already happening.
I like how Tori showed up just to drive the party bus to the main house.
They could have just walked there, like in the manga. That's my number one complaint about this episode. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they called him. I don't know, whatever. I don't make the rules of Furuba. Yeah, why did he even need to be there? It's fine. Because it was kind of sad that he was like all alone in his office when they were going through all of the people, like all of their curses breaking, which I thought was done in a really interesting and nice way. Because it's done without a lot of fanfare where they just all kind of suddenly start to cry and it's very quiet. It's done with only the like narration, and most of them don't say a lot. Like Ayame says something, but a lot of the others don't. Like, you know, Shiguri has a comment and stuff, but it's mostly very subdued. And I thought that was interesting. But yeah, then Hattori's all by himself, and like Kagura, I was like, oh, it's so sad. I don't know, for some reason it's extra sad. It goes through the whole part at the end, but I forgot about the whole Kyo Tohru part at the beginning, where I was still like literally screaming inside my heart the whole time. So I felt like that was also done nicely.
I'm glad they kept the cat asking Kyo if he got dumped.
Yeah. The cat didn't like say anything, but it was like, yeah, and it was really funny. It's important. He's about to not be able to talk to a cat ever again. Yeah. So that was his last conversation with a cat.
Yeah, it's the cat asking him if he got dumped.
I like how the woman is like, oh, did he get dumped? And the little kid's like, he got dumped. And I was like, it was really funny. He didn't get dumped. He dumped Tohru. That was the problem. That was the whole problem in the first place. Anyway.
I love him being like, this is upsetting before running after her again.
Yeah, I think in the subtitle it was like, you're crushing me here. I was like, yeah. We got to see a little bit of like Toru's struggle in between when they spoke and her time in the hospital, where she's like, I'm gonna be fine, everything's fine, so fine, you know. I like Yuki freaking out when she starts crying and smacking her head. It's true that you shouldn't smack your head if you have a concussion.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, the image of her like crying on the roof while like clutching at the fence always really got me. And like kind of like coaching herself. I didn't really describe it in that scene, but she's like, smile, smile, like trying to convince herself to do it. No, you can't escape your feels. I know that one part in particular is very heartbreaking. She got to have her conversation with Akito, and they got to have closure. Akito was like, oh, I was jealous of you, and she's like, I was wrong too. It's kind of like the version of it's just almost like the alternate version of Kyo and Yuki's fight in a way, right?
where they're like, I want to be like you, I want to be like you. And it's the same. Well, it's kind of similar because Akito is like, everyone, you attracted everyone to you. And she's like, and you were so pure and whatever. And Tohru is like, but I'm not though, because I was ruining your life, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always like the statement where she's like whether what I was doing was right or wrong, it was still hurting you. Like,
Yeah. It's a very empathetic thing to say, I think.
Yeah. It's a very Tohru thing to say.
True. Well, you know, she's the most adult out of all the adults, so maybe it's Momiji. Anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. But yeah, it is a very Tohru thing to say. I feel like it's kind of like essentially her kind of outlook. It's very interesting in one little thing. Like, it's not necessarily right or wrong, but you know, you're still hurting someone. Still problematic, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think also it's nice because I think that helps validate like Akito as a kind of like a anti-hero, like, and not as like a villain, I guess. Like, being like, yeah, I mean, obviously Akito is doing things that are wrong, things that are not good, and like Tohru kind of validating her might not be taken well, I guess, by the reader. So it kind of like softens that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I think it kind of like puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
For the reader, it's like, here's like another angle on this.
It's not just like everything you did is fine now.
Yeah.
It's more like you were also suffering.
Yeah.
I thought that all of these people that you were hurting were suffering, but you too were suffering. So, yeah. The second half of this is the real Zodiac story. We finally got to hear the real Zodiac story of what really happened, according to Takaya, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good choice to have Tohru narrate it.
Yeah, I like that.
Because she tells us the story in the first place in like the first episode about the, you know, her mom telling her about the...
Yeah. The like classic version of
yeah, exactly. That God invited all the animals and the rat came... the rat came first, and so that's why the rat's first and whatever. So it was kind of nice to have her voice narrating the like what really happened story at the end of the story as well.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, the cat got shafted. Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a spoiler talk that we talked about recently. It was maybe last episode. It must have been last episode because that was the one where Akito was like, I'm going to tear down the cat's room and whatever. And in our spoiler talk, I remember saying that I thought that was nice because the cat was the animal that came to God first in the story, in the like real story. So Akito first starting with removing the cat's confinement, I think, is nice and poetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really thought about the also the irony of like the original story is like, it's like the rat came first and all the stuff about like Yuki being special because the rat was closest to God and stuff, and it's like, no, actually the cat was closest to God.
The cat was God's best friend. Guys. I'm not mad at you. Yeah. Exactly. And like the how they all felt, the like resentment that was part of the curse was all just because the cat was like, you know, like one eternity was enough with you. Like we don't need to be together for all of one lifetime was enough. One lifetime was good enough, and we don't need to be together for all of time. And then everybody resented that idea, even though I feel like that's like a good idea.
Yeah. And I really liked how the cat's final speech was like animated with it like
looking at God,
with it like kind of like wiggling out of like God's arms and then like sitting up to look at God and
stare God in the face and be like, WTF.
Because like in the manga, I think it's just like still like
lying down
like during the whole thing.
In the manga, it's also like textured in a way that makes it look more kind of like jarring. I was gonna say horrifying. It's not really horrifying. It's kind of it has this like kind of cracked like texture and stuff over the cat. So
yeah,
it also adds to that like kind of like sense of betrayal almost. And I feel like the way that's portrayed in the anime is more like rational. It makes it look more rational in a way by being like in it sort of, you know, the way that we saw it drawn before, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I remember very clearly that panel where the cat's, like, laying down and it's kind of, and saying, like, why did you make me do that or whatever? Why did you make me drink? I don't want eternity. It's, like, in that part. So without that specific visual language, I think it makes it seem a little more, like, reasonable, and that everyone else's reaction is the reaction that's crazy, you know? So.
Yeah.
Or, like, not appropriate, I guess. In part of the cat's speech, the cat says, let us accept mortality even when it makes us lonely. And I feel like, in a way, that's like a major running theme in Fruits Basket. Like, a lot of Kyo and Toru's, problems specifically kind of stem from their parents dying and needing to move on from it in various ways. Like, in Toru's case, being attached to the idea of her mom being most important to her, and with Kyo, with the guilt he associates with his mother's death and Kyoko's death, and also with, like, Akito and her father's death as well.
Yeah. And more broadly, the, like, let's accept that things end.
There's, like, a lot of this is, like, specifically referring to that and being like, just cry with me right now. Like, it's part of all that is part of accepting that things end and things change. I also really liked the line that I didn't write it down, so I have to find it again. We lost what we had and there are no guarantees. Cry for the terror of living in this world again. Which I think is really, I don't know, kind of touching. Like, I feel like it's kind of related, like a tangential idea to what we've been talking about. Like, letting, like, things change and things are out of our control. There are no guarantees, and sometimes you have to just accept that and move on. I guess it's part of a message of Fruits Basket.
Yeah.
And some do and some don't, which is also part of what's represented in Fruits Basket, with all the, like, parents and the way they react to their children being part of the zodiac and stuff like that. One other important thing that I want to point out is that we got to see a ghosty panel when Akito is I don't remember if I've explained this in a while, but when Takaya has a specific drawing style where she draws, like, outlines of people, and it's, like, pretty prominently used in the manga, and sometimes they use a similar style in the anime. They haven't done it in, I don't know, quite a long time now that I think about it. But there's the scene where when Akito pulls Tohru into her room, I was like, yay!
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, good, we got some ghosty panels before the end.
One last time, maybe. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens in the next. I think there's 2 episodes left. It's confirmed there's 13. I double-checked recently, so.
Yeah, I saw, like, a promo image that had 12 and 13 listed. So.
Good. So, yeah, maybe there's time for another ghosty, but at least we got one. I was really pleased.
I always love that part. The, like, Akito hugging Tohru while you get the, like, narration of, like, the cat's wish was finally granted.
Yeah, I wasn't already crying hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part is great. In the sun with other people. So, yeah, so nice. Another important visual thing that we also previously discussed in our our prep messages back and forth was feathers. There was feathers.
Yes.
They used feather imagery. Not when the curse is breaking or whatever, but kind of like about to with the scene with Kyo and Tohru. And I was like, yeah, they did it. They did the thing.
Yeah. Definitely not as many feathers in the anime as the manga, but feather theory still prevails.
Feather theory stands. I feel like in the manga, like, it becomes a visual, or like the visual language that's used often is, like, it becomes feathers, but at the beginning it was also, like, petals. It was kind of interchangeable. So yeah.
Yeah, they both kind of, like, have the same, I don't know, like, silhouette, I guess, so they have the same like visual impact.
Yeah, they have they're floaty and they're white and or black, depending on which, if we're in a bad time or a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, listen, I was happy they brought feathers back for this scene. Another thing that I was going to say about the Kyoto scenes is that I really liked the way they had the beads kind of, like, dropping in slow motion, and, like, everything is like silent, like you can't hear, like, Tohru crying or anything like that in that scene. It's kind of cool. And Kyo, the way, like, Kyo looks up into the sun, there's a lot of, like, it's not like lens flare, but there's a lot of, like, sun glare in a lot of the parts with Kyo and Tohru, which I thought was nice. It's a cool effect, and nice and light and lovey-dovey, obviously, which is what we need.
Yep.
That's the technical term.
We got the beads all gathered up on Tohru's shelf.
Yes, after
in the end credits.
Most importantly. I'm glad that they kept the scene after the credits of like them going to see Shisho and whatever. That's nice. I guess you could cut that, but you can't because Shisho's best dad. So.
Yeah, I love how he just immediately pulls him into a big hug.
Yes, me too. Were you happy that we got an Ayame Mine scene? I know you shipped them.
Yeah, it was cute.
The most important Ayame Mine scene, probably.
Yeah, I like the like how they had Ayame like run to like grab her. She was starting to like go back out of the room.
Like he was still kind of, you could tell he was kind of like struggling. Like he calls her in,
like
and he looks away, but then he kind of like stands, and then
Oh yeah. So speaking of the imagery of the anime, I did like the animation of the bond forming.
Oh yeah.
The like the ropes coming out and everything.
And
it looked like it had like one of those like zodiac charts underneath God when that was happening. Yeah, like the circle charts.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The circle chart. I don't. It's mysterious, and I'm not able to interpret it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I always liked the imagery of the bond they used with like the cords, like the red cords, like that.
Yeah.
And they showed part of this animation in the first episode of season 2, right? So they've alluded to this before.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of this scene. Like I think that whole that line about like I'll hold another banquet and banquet after banquet part I think was in the first episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I could go back
just a little more detailed. So I was like, ooh, pretty.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I've always liked that imagery, especially when the like curses were breaking and you had the like cord snap.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that the addition in the anime. I liked the animation of the little cat drinking out of the little dish with its little tongue. It wasn't that important, but I liked it.
It was cute. So yeah, cat was very cute.
We talked a really long time ago, like probably in the very first episode, about how the animals were drawn like more like animal-y and with more like movement than like the 2001 anime where everything was like really stiff. Like when Kyo, specifically when Tohru like picks up Kyo out and his pants like fall off and his little legs like flop when he's a cat after she turns him into a cat. And I just like the way they draw, like the way they animated all the animals.
Yeah, like they're sort of like halfway between Takaya's like really like stylized chibi kind of look and like actual animals. So so like they're still really cute, but like look a little more like they could exist in the same world as the characters.
What? Yeah, sometimes I remember reading the manga and being like, do they look like that? Like, do they look like that, or is it supposed to look like a real cat, you know?
Yeah.
Do they just look that way? I remember like, do they just look that way for like merch? Or they just like, but then like, and then some are like way more realistic than others. Like Hisa's like super tigery looking, but then like Kyo is just like a cat with a little 3 for a mouth, you know? Like,
yeah.
Which is all fine and dandy, but it's just funny. Yeah, in the story, I feel like like in the Zodiac story in this episode, they used like somewhere between like a slightly more realistic representation of the animals.
Yeah, and you got to see like the classic forms of like the rooster and the dragon rather than their like current altered forms.
The burb and the
the burb and the seahorse.
And the seahorse.
It'd be funny if there's just a little seahorse flopping on the mat at God's banquet though.
The seahorse is just in a jar of sake, you know?
Yeah. Getting extremely drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you never stop drinking, then you'll never be hungover, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
If you live in the alcohol.
It's like the dragon died when he became pickled. Unfortunately, pickled.
Dragon turned into a pickle. There was nothing to be done.
Why, God? Why have you done this to me? I don't need eternity in this form.
God just drew the circle on the seahorse's sake bowl.
I'm glad we could add some extra garbage headcanon into this series before it's done. We still didn't get to see Yuki. Actually, that was the last thing that I messaged you before this was like...
Yeah.
I was like, no Yuki and Machi.
And actually, the series of events got kind of reversed. Like in the manga, you saw everyone's curse break, and then you got the Zodiac story. And in the anime, you got the Zodiac story, and then everyone's curse broke.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I guess they're saving Yuki's.
I guess we don't know what happened. We'll have to see what happens next week.
It's like he's just still a rat. Everyone else's curse broke, but
It's like I'm keeping you.
yeah.
I've always liked your tiny rat face, and Yuki's just like, oh no. Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out what happens, and he's gonna meet Machi. We've been on this Machi Yuki cliffhanger for like a whole episode. How dare? It's been like 2 whole weeks, and I'm offended. I guess we'll find out today, as in when this episode comes out, not now, not for me and you.
Yeah, you guys get to find out today. We have to
find
wait
out in a couple days. I don't have any other things that I wanted to talk about, except that I was really happy to see all the Tohru reunion be animated, cute. Okay, are you ready to talk about spoilers? I don't have any things that I want to say. All right, good. Let's do it. Next time we're going to talk about You Fought Well. I already know what it's going to be about, and I'm already sad. I mean,
it's about a boxing tournament.
Yeah, don't you remember the whole arc where they did the boxing tournament? I totally forgot about that part of the manga.
Yeah, they squeezed it in right at the end. It was a little weird, but
it was really important for our character growth. All right, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week for that.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I was going to say our prediction didn't come true about Meat Angel. She didn't break the curse after all. Then I realized we can't talk about that because she doesn't exist in the anime.
She'll come to win the boxing match. That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's actually like a cooking tournament, and there's going to be a yakiniku showdown with like Hana and Meat Angel.
So much meat.
It's like the sound of sizzling, the clinking of tongs. Who will win? Who will be the victor?
I would watch that spinoff.
I would definitely watch that spinoff. Fruits Basket, another Iron Chef. I think unfortunately it won't be about a boxing match. I think it will be a bunch of sad Kyoko Katsuya stuff that happens next time. I was like, oh yay, they brought that back. Oh no. So, I guess we'll see that. That's good. I hope hopefully we get the Yuki Machi stuff too, so that'll balance it all out.
So yeah, that's from Kyoko's like dying moments.
Yeah, I know, sadly.
So yeah.
Because I thought at the end it's like she sees Katsuya and he's like, you did good or whatever in the manga.
Yeah, he starts he's while she's talking, she says like she wants like Tohru to like become a person who like people say like you did good or something to her. And then like after she like fully dies, she imagines like waking up in the ocean and like Katsuya telling her you did good.
You did good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that won't be sad at all. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I have a question. What's up with Shigure's face? Did Akito scratch him recently? I don't remember.
That's spoilers, but I hadn't noticed it before either. But it's she scratches him during the scene where he gives her the kimono as like the goodbye gift.
Oh right, I forgot that happened before.
Because that actually happens before the
the
curse breaking scene, but we don't see it until afterward. But I hadn't noticed until the anime episode that he had that scratch on his face during that scene. You can't see it in the manga, but it's pretty subtle.
Oh. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck happened to Shigure? I forgot about I mean, I knew that happened. I forgot exactly when it happened, though. So. But yeah, I was like, what the fuck is going on with Shigure's face? Why would they show it so prominently? Is he like a outlaw now? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, I know that happens, but I was like, I went back and checked the manga. I was like, oh, it is there in this scene. I just not really noticed it because it's, black and white and harder to see.
They drew it like it looked like a scar more than a scratch, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's because it's under his bangs. That's why.
Yeah.
You wouldn't notice unless you're looking. Dang. Or I would look at it and be like, oh, it's just like a misprint or whatever,
Yeah.
I never noticed that. Wow, we learned something new about the manga. Who knew? I hope they have that stuff with Akito and Shigure. That would be good. Oh, I guess they have to have eventually, maybe not next time, because like, I don't know how much of Kyoko's stuff they're going to show or what they're going to do with Yuki and Machi, but they're going to have some like Akito being like, you're all free now, bye, that stuff.
Yeah, I expect they'll have that whole bit because since they had the scratches on Shigure's face.
Otherwise, they wouldn't make him look like a character from Inuyasha if they didn't have to have that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Or people just, if you're like me, you'll be like wondering, like, did he have that the whole time and I just didn't notice?
Yeah.
Felt like I already read this series before. I should know if he has a prominent scar on his face.
But yeah, when I finished this episode, I was like, is next episode going to be the last one? But it does look like there's going to be 13, so we got 2 more.
Yeah, we have 2 more. I wasn't sure if next time was going to be last time, but I think it's going to be 2 more, so that's good.
Yeah.
I hope they don't keep the Yukimachi stuff till the very end. Wouldn't that be annoying? I guess they just ran out of time this one.
Yeah, I kind of expected to open with that.
Mm-hmm.
The next episode.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they have to graduate. That's also important, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll have that at the end and tie up all the school stuff with all the school kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then Tohru, takes her exams, and they're all like, oh my god. All the kids are like, oh my god, they're dating now? Oh my god. Oh, and Rin has to be like, I hate all of this still. That's the thing. That would be good to have. There's, this scene where they go to the zoo, and there's a bunch of cats, where they go on their date to the zoo, and there's a bunch of cats, and the cat is just, he can't understand them. Kyoto can't understand them anymore. And it's just oh, they visit Toru's grave. Oh, they have to do all this crap where Kyo's like, come move away, far away with me. And she's like, all right, cool, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that scene is right before the Kyoko flashbacks. Maybe they'll have that too. Yeah, there's still a good amount of stuff to fit in 2 episodes. Things that are kind of important, I think. Because they're going to obviously have the Kyoko stuff. I guess they'll have the stuff about Kyo asking Toru to move away with him or whatever. And then Yuki and Machi stuff. That'll probably be next time. And then they gotta graduate and everybody has to be all sad and say goodbye, etc., etc. So
yeah, I'm just not sure how the order is gonna shake out because
I don't know
if we assume they do the Yuki and Machi stuff next time, but it's named after the Kyoko scene, so they have to have that in there. So I don't know if they would also have room for the stuff that happens between that, the Akito stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know, man. They fit 4 chapters in the last episode. Maybe they'll do the same. Maybe all the Akito stuff will be next time.
Mm-hmm.
Or some of it at least.
Yeah.
Next time. And then they're going to run through all of the next 2 episodes with no credits because they'll be showing so much stuff. Hopefully. I feel overall I'm happy with the way the anime is shook out because it's been nice. It's been good. Mm-hmm. We didn't get Meat Angel, but that's okay. At least we got Mogeta. I mean, he's the most important side character in all of Furuba. Is there anything else that you want to chat about this time?
I don't think so.
Do you have any more wild speculation about what will happen next time? Meat Angel comes and
wins the boxing match and uses the winnings to start a cooking tournament.
Open a yakiniku stand with Hana, in sort of Cinderella.
Is this a new ship?
I feel like I've seen people talk about it as a thing on Tumblr before. It's not my original idea. Their yakiniku connection. That can be the name of the ship.
I thought you were going to say that's the name of the stand. Yakiniku connection.
Why not both? Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. There's still a lot of things that could be included, but whatever. We know that Sad Kyoko stuff will be in, and I'm pretty sure Yuki Machi stuff will be in next time. So, Okay. Well, I don't have any other things I want to talk about this time. All right. I guess we'll see everybody next time. Hope everybody brings tissues again.
Cry with me.
Yeah. You don't have to ask. It'll be both for the Happy Yuki Machi stuff and the Kyoko stuff. Okay, good. Well, I guess we'll see everybody next time. Thank you for listening. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.